Chapter 2, Literature Review. Conceptual Framework. Bandura's work on self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is an individual's level of confidence and competence in their own ability to complete a task and achieve the desired outcome. Strong self-efficacy changes negative past experiences of failing to achieve the desired outcome, since past academic failings in English and math classes have influenced an individual's current mindset. As opportunities to develop and maintain self-efficacy occur, new and positive experiences are introduced. Students in middle school have the potential to continually develop self-efficacy to learn after having negative experiences when failing or struggling academically. The development of self-efficacy begins in early stages of infancy. Infants that are age 3 or younger experience rapid learning. Rapid learning in infants is a period of time when infants are able to process information, absorb information, and learn with continual curiosity at a faster rate from the infant's experiences. Rapid learning and curiosity, in conjunction with self-efficacy, allows infants to learn information faster from their positive or negative experiences. Even when infants have negative experiences and fail at simple tasks such as walking, infants learn through self-efficacy. Infants continually demonstrate self-efficacy in order to learn about their environment to make sense of the world. Infants learn rapidly by being exposed to new experiences and different environments during their first 3 years with continual curiosity. After the age of 3, the period of rapid learning through curiosity and self-efficacy diminishes. Learning still occurs in infants after the age of 3, but not as rapidly as in the first 3 years. Self-efficacy, learning, and brain development in infants depend on the same curiosity, exploration, and experimenting that is available in our education. Learning and brain development in infants is based on self-efficacy. Infants learn from failing, continue to be persistent, and experiment through their curiosity. As infants fail, they make stronger and newer connections in their brain that allow the infant's brain to be more efficient in knowing how to complete a task with competence. After the age of 3, the brain's plasticity continues to change, but not as rapidly as in infancy, unless otherwise stimulated, while self-efficacy continues to also diminish. Self-efficacy in children begins to decrease over time as children begin to have negative experiences when they are unable to obtain desired goals. As students begin to be challenged academically through curriculum and high-stakes testing, students with lower levels of self-efficacy are more likely to not be persistent academically when they have a negative experience when failing academically. As children grow out of infancy, children need to receive different teaching strategies from instructors in order to continually develop self-efficacy through their interest and to be prepared for further education and career paths. Art plays a role in cultivating self-efficacy and divergent thinking through art education with creative learning principles. After the age of 3, there are few opportunities for students to stimulate their brain's plasticity. Art has shown to stimulate the brain's plasticity on multiple levels and is capable of stimulating students' brains past the age of 3. Art is beneficial for not just expressive or aesthetic reasons, but also for cognitive development. Art is capable of stimulating past experiences and reinforcing existing language and memory. Making art stimulates senses supporting the brain's reserve. Anderson studied processes and experiences of artists who were considered geniuses, including Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Anderson also studied artists of the Golden Age, Renaissance Florence, and 19th century Paris. Anderson looked at the artists of these different time periods and the opportunities that occurred to allow creativity through project-based learning. By the end of Anderson's study, they asked how many creative minds had been lost because the individuals were never nurtured or given the opportunity to grow and flourish. Based on the research of Haas Cohen, art had the potential to continually develop self-efficacy and even allow the brain to develop new neurons in students. Cultivating self-efficacy through the arts. In a study conducted at an elementary school located in a low-income community in Burlington, Vermont, art education was incorporated into core class content such as math, science, and English. In the study, students were able to develop self-efficacy when grading, exploring, and experimenting through project-based learning. Prior to implementing art in core content, the school was at risk of being shut down due to low student academic achievement. Before art was integrated into the curriculum, only 70% of the 3rd grade students were proficient in the math portion of the standardized tests. 5 years after incorporating arts into the curriculum, 66% of the students achieved math proficiency on the standardized test. This study infers the students were able to develop self-efficacy when they were engaged in the art-based curriculum to complete the same core content assessments compared to when art education was not incorporated. Moorfield-Lang studied whether art education has a relationship to 8th grade rural middle school students' motivation and self-efficacy. The participants of the study included 92 middle school students that were in the 8th grade. Moorfield-Lang used student questionnaires, focus group interviews, and follow-up interviews that conducted a content analysis on personal narratives, comments, and opinions directly from the students. Moorfield Lang concluded there were both positive and negative relationships between the students' art education classes and the students' motivation and self-efficacy. In this study, students believed that being enrolled in art classes helped develop their self-efficacy and gave them the drive to do better academically in all of their classes. When students were enrolled in art classes, the students were more engaged and interested in the arts because they were able to learn content from other disciplines through the arts. In art education with creative learning principles, students explore experimentation and divergent thinking through project-based learning. Research by Puente Diaz and Cavazos Arroyo examined the relationship between student creative self-efficacy with schoolwork and divergent thinking. The study found a positive correlation with intrinsic and extrinsic motivation and creative self-efficacy. However, the study did not find a relationship between creative self-efficacy and divergent thinking when students completed schoolwork. Divergent thinking is cultivated and stimulated when students are enrolled in art classes. Puente Diaz and Cavazos Arroyo use questionnaires with students in a classroom setting during class time. The questionnaire was given to the same group of students at the beginning of the study and the end of the study. The questionnaire asked students to complete the following prompt as part of the divergent thinking task. Quote, "Name all of the things you can think of that has wheels." End quote. Students who were bored and could still name more objects that had wheels at the end of the study than they were able to name at the beginning of the study scored higher. The study results showed that students with higher creative self-efficacy maintained their level of confidence and performed higher on the divergent thinking task than the students with lower self-efficacy, even though both groups ranked on the same levels of being bored. Although not explicitly mentioned in the Puente Diaz and Cavazos Arroyo study, students need opportunities to cultivate creative self-efficacy and divergent thinking. Students need the opportunity to foster divergent thinking and creative self-efficacy when art education integrates creative learning principles that are part of the ALICE study. Students often do not have many opportunities to promote divergent thinking in core studies. Still, students can benefit from incorporating the arts into other classes to demonstrate divergent thinking solutions to problems. Puente Diaz and Cavazos Arroyo's research explores the problem statement: if students' creative self-efficacy affects their education and divergent thinking when students are bored. Creative self-efficacy is a student's individual belief to promote creative outcomes. Divergent thinking refers to a student's ability to generate multiple creative ideas that are distinct from those of other students while also justifying their choices and decision. The research question that Puente Diaz and Cavazos Arroyo uses include: what effect does intrinsic and extrinsic regulation for schoolwork and boredom have on creative self-efficacy and divergent thinking? The purpose of the study is to examine if creative self-efficacy has positive effects on students' divergent thinking when students are bored with classwork. The study's research design uses case studies and questionnaires to examine student self-efficacy in schoolwork when students are asked to be creative in different content areas, including art. Creativity is usually associated with artwork and music, but creativity can also be applied to finding solutions in other content areas through divergent thinking. Puente Diaz and Cavazos Arroyo explain divergent thinking as, quote, relevant for creativity since the ability to produce several, fluency, novel ideas, originality, is seen as an indicator of creative potential, end quote. The research methodology that the study uses is 156 female and 139 male elementary students in Mexico that range from ages 10 to 14. The study's significant finding is that there is a positive correlation between intrinsic and extrinsic regulation and creative self-efficacy. In this study, students' confidence and beliefs about their creative abilities were significantly affected by intrinsic and extrinsic regulation, but that intrinsic regulation impacted creative self-efficacy more. The study's limitations are that the research was conducted with students living in Mexico and not students from California. An additional limitation of the study is that the students participated in the study for 12 to 15-minute intervals. The study also did not examine or record how creative self-efficacy is developed as intrinsic and extrinsic motivation is introduced. Lastly, the study did not determine if intrinsic regulation and creative self-efficacy influence each other over time. Recommendations for future research would be to conduct a case study on participants that vary in age with different socioeconomic backgrounds and more extended periods of time to study. Another recommendation would be to emphasize intrinsic regulation rather than extrinsic regulation to develop student self-efficacy. Due to the near elimination of art in student curriculum and the test-driven Common Core curriculum in the United States, self-efficacy is typically nurtured during the first 3 years of infant development. Art cultivates and nurtures self-efficacy through the production of art beyond age 3 by using creative learning processes. Art also improves student achievement in other disciplines by creating high-order thinking processes by utilizing the DOK, multiple intelligences to strengthen this self-efficacy, and divergent thinking for student achievement. In order for the United States to be progressive, innovative, and competitive with other emerging or developed economies, students should have art as part of their PK through 12 curriculum to produce higher levels of self-efficacy and divergent thinking. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And feel free to watch any of the other related videos.